Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at a Honda Civic Sport hatchback with a manual transmission. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Honda here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this Civic. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering this is a naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed manual transmission. Fuel economy is 26 around town and then 36 on the highway, with power outputs being 158 horsepower and then 138 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see pretty simplistic with the design, and that's the design language with the new Civic. And by the way, this is Boost Blue. And then coming down below, really sharp daytime running lights with the LED headlamps. And then you guys can see here with that section, looks pretty cool. And then notice with the grille how it's darker, but then we've got the chrome Honda badge. And putting it all together, I mean, finished in Boost Blue, pretty cool looking. Coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 235/40/18 in the front and over in the rear. And then you guys can see with the wheels how they are all blacked out. I love the cut there for the fender. Then you guys can see the mirror caps blacked out, and then the window trim also blacked out, and even the side skirt. And then here's your full side view on the Civic. Again, in Boost Blue, this thing looks sweet. Now here's a quick look at the key fob. We have our unlock function or lock function. That's just the unlock for the hatch, and then you got the Honda logo there in the back. And speaking of hatch, you guys can see it is quite spacious, especially with the seats in the back folded down. I mean, you could fit quite a bit back here. We also have a cover here built in from the factory, which is pretty cool. It just attaches to the other side. But yeah, this is one of the cool things about the hatchback is it's very spacious, and when you're all done, just plop. Really cool taillight design here, and then you guys can see all of the badge action, and then notice the diffuser at the bottom also. Putting it all together, let me know what you guys think, but I love the design of the hatchback, especially in Boost Blue. Now, popping inside, you guys can see we've got padding where you're gonna rest your arm, window control, and then I like to look at the door handle. And then taking a look at these seats, you guys can see cloth all down the center, and then I like this padding here on the side. Now, legroom back here is actually really solid, and you can see like the padding here in the center as well. And then headroom, it's also good. Now, taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see again with the padding here, and then we got all of our window controls, front door automatic. You've got your mirror adjustments on top of that, and again, look at the handle. And then there's a quick look at the mirrors themselves. And then here's the front seat. You can see the trim there in the center, then look at on the sides. The seat is manually adjustable, and voila! We have our 3-pedal layout. Then you guys can see with the safety tech, and then the stability control, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, really nice material use all around. And then we've got stuff like our adaptive cruise control, steering assist here on the front, volume controls, home screen, voice command controls, all of that fun stuff. And then turn signal / light stock, and then windshield wiper stock. Now, pretty cool looking gauge cluster in the center. You guys can see the screen on the side, and that lets you basically see a bunch of different bits of vehicle information going to different systems within the vehicle itself. And yeah, overall, I like the look of it, that's for sure. And then we also do have an econ mode for those of you wondering. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and resolution is pretty solid. Now as for the infotainment system, this is Honda's smaller unit. It's got a bunch of physical buttons, which is really nice. Simplistic with the functionality, but it's easy to use, and it has basically radio, phone stuff, like all you need. Now the dash is soft touch, which I think is definitely a nice thing to have. And then we've got the Honda Mega Vent, is what I like to call it. And then we've got our climate controls, single zone climate here in the Civic. And then you guys can see with the charging stuff down below, and then some storage right there. And then here's the shifter for the 6-speed manual. We'll talk about this more during the driving portion, but definitely a nice kind of look, again, for more, you know, quote-unquote baseline car. And you got your econ mode, your auto, stop, start, parking brake, and then brake hold. Some cup holder action here, and then look at the trim there on the side. It's also really cool. And then good storage space. Nice cloth trim here on the top. And then with the glove box, also pretty spacious. So here's a window sticker for the Civic. You guys can see almost everything is standard, and then we've got the base MSRP here. Basically, the colors and everything you add. $27,700 is the total MSRP in this. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throw the rest to the rear, and parking brake down. First gear, manual Civic away. I am so excited. I think this is the first time that I've reviewed a base engine manual Civic, because I've reviewed the hatchback with the 1.5, so the turbocharged engine. I've reviewed the SI. I have reviewed the Type R. I haven't driven the Type R, but I have reviewed the Integra Type S, which is basically a Civic Type R just with Integra sheet metal. I mean, there are some more significant changes than that, but that basically means that I've driven pretty much all of the Civic transmissions and engines except for this one. So it'll be interesting to see. I feel like this is like, and you guys will probably see the short that I'll make later on. I feel like this is like the best first car that you could ever buy. But I'm going to talk about why nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people wouldn't buy this as their first car. Controversial statement, right? So first off, I really like these seats. They're nicely bolstered, so they hold you in place really well. But on top of that, they're comfortable. Honda does a really good job of just making comfortable, well bolstered seats. Now, ride quality is also really good with the new Civic. That's another big plus with this car. It is one of the best riding, I would say probably it is the best riding economy car, right? When you compare it to Corolla, you know, Hyundai Elantra, any other economy car, Mazda 3, this just rides the best. Honda's done a really good job, and a big part of that is it just has such a long wheelbase now. Now the transmission in normal Honda fashion is fantastic. You can really feel, you know, when it's in the gates for all of the different gears, so that part is great, and it's just easy. The clutch is great. It's not like, there's not a ton of feedback necessarily with the clutch. And by the way, this 4-cylinder is pretty easy to rev match, unless it's got auto rev match, and let me see if it does. So I'm gonna go up. No, it doesn't. I was doing that myself. Yeah, it's really easy to rev match. So yeah, really good transmission setup. It's easy, which again would be great if this was a first car. Okay, let's get an acceleration. So this is starting out a second gear, by the way. So not the best place to start out with a naturally aspirated engine, but I mean, it still gets up and moves. I wouldn't call it, you know, insanely quick by any means, but it gets up and moves. I'll get a better acceleration up here in a little bit. It's so comfortable. And again, the transmission's really good. So I've said this time and time again, this would be a really good car to learn manual on. So we'll get acceleration here at the end, but I do want to talk about why I think that even though this is probably one of the best first cars that someone could own, because it's a Honda, it's reliable, it's affordable, all that kind of stuff, why nobody would probably buy this. In fact, it's because it's a manual. So here's the deal. Like, the Honda Civic is targeted towards my generation, Gen Z, and you know, that's why it has like some nice features, but then also it's affordable. It makes sense, right? The problem with Gen Z is that nobody knows how to drive. Like whenever I talk to my friends, it's like none of them know how to drive manual. And so that's the problem, is this would be a great first car if people knew how to drive manual and were willing to learn. There's a lot of people in my generation that not only do they not know how to drive, they're just too scared to even like think about attempting to learn how to drive manual. So if you happen to be Gen Z and you happen to be watching this review, just jump into it, take the risk. That's what my older brother did, actually. He didn't know how to drive manual. He just went and bought a manual car, and then it was just trial by fire. He just kept stalling it like crazy, leaving the dealership parking lot, embarrassed himself, but then eventually he learned how to drive manual. And like, if you have to do that, that is way cooler than just not doing it. And I can tell you, like, the CVT in the Civic is fine, but man, if you know how to drive manual, this thing is just as economical as the CVT, and it's way more fun to drive. And here's our first gear pull. Still has the still has the rev hang that Hondas are famous for. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, as an economy car, this is so fun to drive. You don't get this in Toyota Corolla. You don't get the, like, even the Corolla with the manual, it's a good car, but like, this transmission's so much better than Toyota's. And then this is a comfortable car. So overall, great car. It's targeted towards a generation that doesn't know how to drive manual, and that's probably the only reason why this won't sell in as high, the manual versions won't sell in as high of numbers, is just because Gen Z is just, they don't know how to drive manual. I'll insult my own generation. They're kind of worthless with a lot of stuff, and driving manuals is one of those things. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this Honda Civic.